Welcome to GearCheckGames. This is part 18 of our commentary for The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker HD. Last time we started making our way into the Tower of the Gods, and we picked up our dungeon item for this, well, dungeon, the Hero's Bow, and in this part we're going to use that to hopefully get to the end of this dungeon. Dungeon.
I like that the bow uses the Wii U motion controls. That's kind of nice.
Oh, yes. Again, a massive improvement over the original, like, analog stick aiming. And I feel stupid because, like, when I first got the HD version of Wind Waker, I was still kind of in, like, that obstinate phase of, like, ooh, motion controls are for casual gamers. This is stupid. Analog sticks are way better. And then I actually, like... So I didn't use it in my first playthrough. But on my second playthrough, I actually gave it the time of day, and it was just like, I am a moron.
Now, like, if this were... continue what you're saying.
It is, like, incomparable, like, the level of accuracy and ease of use between the gyro controls versus the stick aiming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All you have to do is remember the slingshot minigame in Ocarina of Time.
Which is laughably easy in the 3DS version.
Yeah.
Just because the aiming is so much better.
It's like going back... It's like playing a remaster of a game that was made for console on PC.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's just like, oh, this was made for much less accurate controls.
Yeah, that's kind of an interesting question, because I've heard... You know, one example I would say is Resident Evil 4. That got a Wii version with IR pointer controls as an option. And I've heard people claim that, like, that version of the game is, like, inferior because they made it kind of reduced the challenge as a result of making the aiming so much easier. But, like, I don't know if that's really the fault of the controls and more just like a product of the original, like, system not being up to the task, and so they had to design the game with that in mind.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's kind of too bad that IR aiming has gone the way of the dodo, like, after the Wii.
Yeah.
Because I've been playing Metroid Prime 3 a lot lately. I know I've mentioned that several times, but, like, those controls are fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Well, because unfortunately, the only console that had IR gaming was not really powerful enough to run most of the shooters of the generation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You could always play the Conduit.
Or Call of Duty for the Wii.
Did any of you guys actually play the Conduit?
No.
I've only heard tell that it was actually a pretty competent shooter for the Wii, which is surprising.
The only thing I remember about the Conduit is people complaining about people liking the Conduit too much. Just because it was a good first-person shooter on the Wii.
They're obviously just Nintendo shills.
Right.
Yeah, clearly.
On the latest Laser Time episode, they go into detail about how the second one actually had pretty okay online multiplayer shooting for the Wii.
Really?
Yeah, they said it was like the only one that had okay, like, online.
Wow, that's like...
Gotta have bombs.
God, that's like finding out Santa Claus isn't real. It's like blowing my mind.
Right. I mean, all those
a good
servers
online Wii game?
I mean, the servers are dead now, so there's, like, no way to go back and check.
Yeah. They're the real Nintendo shills, right?
Right. Man, you have to time that perfectly for this door.
Eh.
Oh, these guys look like they come alive.
Mm-hmm.
They look like Armos boys.
They're waiting. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot about that enemy type.
Man. It's weird going into different Zelda games and looking at enemies, and then you look at their name and realize, oh, so this is this game's rendition of that enemy.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially in the Wind Waker, I look at the different enemies, and it just doesn't click with me that they are that enemy until I see the name, like the Stalfos and the I mean, the re-deads were pretty, like, obvious.
Oh, yeah.
But,
Well, we're about to get to one of them here in one of the upcoming rooms. Speaking of atypical variants on, like, classic Zelda enemies.
I don't remember any re-deads being in the Tower of the Gods.
No re-deads. I meant, like, a different enemy.
Oh.
The
Okay.
Wizrobes.
Oh.
AKA Toucan Sam.
Toucans.
Oh, yeah.
You're making me want to play Pokemon Sun and Moon. I need that toucan in my life.
Oh, I forgot about him. He's a beast, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's a straight up hoss in that game.
Uh-huh.
Like, he's comparable.
I think I started out using him, but I didn't really have space for him in my team, like, after a while. So
Yeah.
I had to
I
drop
preferred
him,
his
unfortunately.
evolution, Bazookan.
I like
Dan, you're the reason why they don't let Americans design Pokemon anymore.
AR-15E.
Oh god. From the upcoming Pokemon Sword, Shield, and Gun.
Oh yeah, the 3rd edition. Oh, I remember this puzzle. This is a fun puzzle.
I don't really get that meme. Because it's like, Sword and Shield, like, go together. Like, it's not that they're just weapons, but they're, like, medieval weapons.
They're complementary weapons.
Yeah.
They fit with the theme of the England setting as well.
The gun thing just feels kind of lazy, honestly.
Well, see, my takeaway from the gun thing is that it's kind of reminiscent of the Wonderful 101, where well, I guess it's not that, but I think Sword is red. So I guess the only similarity is that they chose green for Gun, which is also the color for Gun in Wonderful 101.
Yeah, Dan, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I don't think they were referencing Wonderful 101.
I
when they came up
know.
with that
I
name.
just want people to. I'll just take any opportunity I can get to imagine that other people care about Wonderful 101.
So if I like Pikmin and other RTSs, will I like Wonderful 101?
Well, it's not really an RTS. It's like it's got more in common with, like, Bayonetta than
Yeah,
Oh.
if you like Bayonetta or Metal Gear Rising, you'll probably like Wonderful 101.
I mean, I was a fan of the DMC back in the day, so
Yeah, then I'd say you might.
Or if you're a fan
Give it a
if you're a fan of just like over the top shonen anime, you might like Wonderful 101, like Gurren Lagann and
Oh.
yeah.
All right.
Or just a fan of Platinum Games in general.
Oh, they made that game, didn't they?
Because, like, every character in that game is, like, an XP of one of Hideki Kamiya's protagonists.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Beautiful Joe stand-in, a Dante, a Bayonetta.
Aww. I'm assuming
Some of the
like...
bosses are named after, like, Okami enemies.
Oh.
Uh-huh.
Wait, Platinum made Okami?
Back when they were Clover Studios, they did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Beautiful Joe.
Yeah. I was going to say they also just make blatant and not very blatant low effort references to their characters, but I remembered that was Bayonetta 2. Bayonetta 1 and 2, I guess.
Well, no, Wonderful 101 has it too, because they brought, they have, like, a kid version of Luca, who's literally the exact same character from Bayonetta, just as a child.
Yeah. I didn't make that connection because I played Wonderful 101 before Bayonetta.
Like, forgive me, but isn't he mad at, like, Wonder Red because his dad died and he didn't save him? Or something? I don't know.
I don't remember. Maybe. I think that is true. Was that the case in Bayonetta?
Well, in Bayonetta, he's mad because, Bayonetta... Well, no, actually, didn't they reveal that it wasn't Bayonetta that killed his dad? It was, Baldur.
Probably. I don't know.
The demon.
They gave stories all over the place.
No kidding.
Because these things got spikes at, like, human level.
Yeah, they're pretty intimidating, but also really easy to defeat.
Yeah. Their spikes are right at a goring distance for or goring height for a small child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it were adult Link, it might just hit him in the shins, which honestly sounds like a worse fate.
Well, yeah, because then you'd live to, like, suffer.
I'll crawl out of this dungeon if I have to. Never mind the swimming.
Yeah, just a little bit of cleanup here. There's one more thing I want to get, but yeah.
I like that you have to get 3 statues for that.
I'm sorry for the lack of commentary. We're recording this late on a Friday night, and I'm very tired. Some explanation was needed.
He's sleepy. I'm hungry.
Recording Let's Plays with your friends on a Friday night? How pathetic.
Yeah, I can't believe it's come to this.
I mean, it could be drugs.
Yeah.
I tell my parents that.
Yeah. At least I'm not spending my money on booze. I'm just spending it on very expensive capture equipment.
Yeah. Look at all those skulls. People died to give you this treasure.
Yeah.
They came to this temple without a ranged weapon, and they're just like, how do I get to the treasure in this room? How, Elmo, how?
Just died from bashing their heads into that wall too many times.
I feel like those types of puzzles should have, like, alternate solutions for, like, normal humans that aren't, like, the hero of time or whatever you are.
Hey man, the gods aren't here to give out charity or anything.
Like, what's the prize at the end of this
treasure?
dungeon?
The treasure's for the hero's eyes only.
Isn't the prize the...
It's the next part of the story.
Yeah, the prize is the next part of the story.
Is it, like, access to the
wink, wink.
underworld?
So here we are in the final, like, interior area of the Tower of the Gods before the boss, I believe.
Get wrecked, Link.
And yeah, we gotta fight our greatest challenge yet, this Beamos.
I wonder, Breath of the Wild didn't have Beamos, did it?
No, but it had Guardians.
I suppose that's a good, like...
Analog, yeah.
They had their own lasers.
Now they can chase you.
Oh god, Beamos with legs.
That's pretty much what they were.
I wonder if that was like their thought process, like, what if Beamos could chase after you?
Aren't they supposed to be modeled after, like, old Japanese pottery also?
Yeah, the visual design of them. I just mean in terms of, like, how they extrapolated that idea from, like, an existing Zelda enemy.
Yeah.
Well, actually, no, because we've seen, like, the concept art for the Guardians, and some of that stuff is just horrifying, so maybe they didn't start with Beamos. Maybe they just kind of arrived at that later.
Weren't some of them kind of like War of the Worlds-esque?
Oh, yeah, kind of like the tripods.
What if that's the thing about Aonuma? Like, he doesn't create these variations of enemies to, like, pay homage to the previous game. He just... every time he sits down at his desk to come up with ideas, he comes up with all these original ideas, and then he just revises them and revises them, until eventually they all end up converging back at the same set of enemies.
I thought you were gonna say... he tells the art team, like, okay, come up with whatever you want. And then they do that, and he looks at their work and he's like, this is why we can't have nice things. Because it's all, like, horrifying.
See, now I thought of something different. When you were saying that, I thought the route you were gonna go is that he goes to his art team with these crazy original ideas, and he's trying to explain them to his art team, but he's just really bad at explaining, so they're not getting it. So he just has to be like, alright, so just imagine like a Beamos but with legs.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Beamos with legs, yes.
Now
okay.
I understand.
It's like herding cats.
And then Aonuma just goes back into his office, and he's just like, ugh.
This is why I can't have These concept artists as my game developers.
I knew I should have been an artist.
I knew I should have gone to law school.
I really like these BMOs quite a bit. Even though we've talked over them.
Yeah, the red ones can fire like in a radial like diameter.
Yeah.
This doesn't make any sense. Don't think too hard about that, math people.
I was just gonna say we're going into the boss with half a heart.
Yeah.
Do we have any fairies in a bottle? Oh,
yeah, I've got one. I think I've got one fairy and 2 helpings of Grandma's soup.
Soup.
And I don't have to use either one because I'm just that good at this game. Okay.
Spoilers.
Quite the interesting take on the boss arena surrounded by what is typically magma or lava.
Interesting take on the boss, like...
Yeah?
I mean, I know we had Goat in Ocarina of Time that was like a machine, but I felt like you kind of had to think about that design before it really like clicks that it's a robot. This thing is just like straight up like... Okay, it's that one boss from Mario 64, but it looks pretty cool.
It's that one boss from Mario 64 and Star Fox and
he's got the Terminator eyes.
Oh god, he does.
And the thing he's wearing on his head kind of reminds me of Emperor Cusco.
Man.
Who's that enemy in Mario Odyssey? That first boss in Tostarena?
God, I love that thing's name, but I can't remember
It's like a really funny name.
Knuckleotech.
Yeah, that's what he looks like.
the Mayan god Knuckleotech.
Yeah, I suppose
honestly, Bongo Bongo is probably the most like out there take on this design, because instead of 2 floating hands and a floating head, he's 2 floating hands and a floating headless body.
Yeah, 2 severed hands and a headless like stump.
God, that boss is grotesque.
Rendered in explicit detail. I'm guessing the ESRB didn't make it that far.
Yeah.
Either that or Nintendo just paid him off to give it an E rating.
If I remember correctly, Bongo Bongo has the only like legitimate use for the ice arrows in that game, because you can actually freeze his hands.
Oh,
right. Yeah, see, I never have the ice arrows by that point because I wait to go to Gerudo Valley until like the very end.
I never used the ice arrows in that game.
Yeah, because they are pretty much useless.
Yeah.
I don't think they actually freeze enemies.
Kind of a last minute addition.
And you have to go through that whole huge puzzle to get them, and it's completely not worth it because you get the mirror shield, like the boss that requires, quote unquote, requires them.
Now, like with... Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, the boss that quote-unquote requires them, you can just use the mirror shield to wait it out.
Are you supposed to just use the mirror shield for that boss fight? Like, I never even thought to try fire or ice arrows against them.
I mean, as long as you use the opposite arrow of the one you're aiming at, it will, like, speed up the fight. But, like, so half of the stages of the fight you can speed up as long as you have the fire arrows. But as long as you have the mirror shield, you can still feasibly fight the boss.
I love it when games have those little, okay, what I'm saying isn't relevant.
Well, I was gonna say, that guy's attack pattern was kind of repetitive, but again, like the Forbidden Woods boss, I like that they use color to like indicate like when he's doing his big like deadly attack.
Yeah.
Like, they make the entire screen, like, shift to, like, a yellow color spectrum, as opposed to the usual blue, just to kind of warn you, like, hey, be careful when it turns yellow.
And nothing quite hits that just, like, fight or flight instinct, like, when he's just showering you with energy balls and the whole arena's red, and it's just like, ah!
Yeah, it's pretty intimidating your first time through.
There's a lot of that kind of stuff in this game.
Oh, going up into the purple light. Here we go.
Maybe it's because it's so cartoony. Like, every time you encounter something that's even, like, slightly intimidating, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, well, also, like, other Zelda games have scary stuff, like Bottom of the Well and all that are kind of slow burn. But if this game has anything, it gets you with just immediate startling
shock.
Yeah. Like, you may not run into a scary zombie, but man, you might have just a million fireballs right on your heels as you're running for your life.
72 hours remain.
We did it, guys. We have appeased the gods, kind of.
Gotta go up to go down, right?
I just remembered that we're doing all this to save Link's sister.
He's a good brother.
You know,
Wait.
Link is pretty accepting to like go along with all the stuff that the King of Red Lions tells him. He's like, yeah, I'll help you find your sister, but first you got to go to these 3 islands and get these 3 pearls so that you can put them in these statues to make a big tower come out of the ocean, and go through the tower and ring a bell at the top of the tower so you can go down under the ocean into a castle and pull out a sword that you can use to kill Ganon and save your sister.
Are you sure you're not trying to trigger some kind of like apocalypse or something? This is very.
I mean, for all Link's knows. I guess we'll find out in part 19. So
Wow, this episode just ends with the boat sinking.
the end.